If you're a South Asian professional in middle management or above, even in the C suite, but if you're feeling tired, if you're feeling exhausted, you're feeling burned out, you're feeling that you are getting sick more frequently than before, your productivity is declining, then watch this training right from now until the end, because I'm going to talk about how to combat this modern day compulsive bad stress cycle that is negatively affecting your productivity, and how to combat it so that you can lead a simple, fulfilling, and bad stress free life. Because for any human being, it's very important that they have a beautiful integration between life and their career, because career is not everything, and yet we turn a life upside down to have the career that we think we want for ourselves, but many times it's just defined by how others define success. So be here with me. If you're already watching this training, drop a hello. As you watch this training, if you have any questions, type your questions. If something resonates with you, highlight that in your comment, and I will address the questions once I finish the training, and I'll reply to your comments after I end the training. For those who do not know me, I'm Dr. Mrinalini. I can't say my name today. I'm Dr. Mrinalini Garg. I am a career advancement coach and a leadership coach for South Asian professionals who are in middle management and who aspire to get to higher levels of leadership and make a bigger impact. I help them do that by helping them speak up strategically, establish an executive presence, network like a pro, and be visible and be seen as a leader. So let's talk about, before I go into the stress cycle, let's talk about the good stress and bad stress. Okay? Because yes, there are two types of stresses, and we do need that stress to thrive in our life. So if you think about a seed of any plant, when we plant that seed in the ground, it needs to have that resistance. It needs to build that ability to pierce through the soil, for the shoot to come out of the soil and then grow. And the same for the roots to grow in and stabilize it. It's the same way with us. No matter how much we try to separate ourselves from nature, we are part of the nature. Human beings, I believe, have started thinking that we are above nature. We can do anything on this planet, and we are going to be fine. The thing is that, and this might sound very um, sad, but it is not actually. It's not. It's it's thought provoking. But here's the thing: the moment we take birth, we are on a journey to die at one point. And what we do between our birth and death matters a lot. So we don't keep that perspective. We just think about what's next, what's next, what can I do, what can I do, what can I do? And that creates that bad stress cycle. We give ourselves goals, and there's nothing wrong with that. However, we are not truly aligned with the goals. Sometimes, not sometimes, many times, especially in on the Indian subcontinent, you know, we don't even decide what we want to do. Our parents, for a generation, for my generation, parents decided what they need to do, what field of study they should go into, what career they should choose, who they should marry, where they should live. So there are no choices given to them. So people don't even get a chance to align themselves with what they truly want. So the goals that they set for themselves are some artificial goals that, oh, Sharmaji's son is becoming an engineer. So my son should become an engineer also. So we are now competing with Sharmaji's son to become an engineer, but deep in our heart, we wanted to be a cricketer. But deep in our heart, we wanted to be an artist or a singer or an actor or whatever it is. But we were not even given that choice. Now, those of you who have had those choices, great. I'm happy for you. I would still invite you to start questioning your goals. Does reaching out for the goals get you excited, or do you get stressed out? Because if you're getting stressed out about reaching those goals, then your goals are probably not aligned, and that stress is a bad stress. But if you're excited to go after what you want, yes, there will be difficulties, just like a seed, how it has to pierce through the soil, through the ground to come up. Even though it is hard, it is exciting. So revisit your goals and see if it truly gives you the joy in pursuing that, even though it is difficult. And be honest with yourself. As human beings, we are great at BSing ourselves, honestly. And that's the truth. But we don't want to see the truth. But it's your life, and there is only a span between birth and death. So you get to choose whether you want to live your life aligned with where you want to be, or do you want to just go with what everyone else is doing and be a part of the rat race. Now, even though I'm a career advancement coach, I am very, very upfront with my clients, and I help them figure out what path they truly want for themselves and why they want it. And I have clients who decided, I don't want to be in the rat race. I'm going to start my own, health coaching business, or I'm going to start my own executive coaching business. And there are some who said, well, we are going to start selling our products. And that's amazing. That's amazing because, now you feel aligned and excited with what you truly want for yourself, and you are exposing yourself to good stress. Another example of good stress is also when you are exercising. Now, here's another thing. You need to figure out what kind of exercise works with you. I read somewhere, the true answer is any exercise that you can consistently do. That's the best exercise for you. Why? Because that is aligned with you. You will do something consistently that just flows. You are in that flow state. Many times we feel that, oh, people just talk about at a certain age, you need to do this kind of an exercise and that kind of an exercise, but it's all noise. It's all noise. Our body is very intelligent, and we don't give ourselves enough credit for that. Our body will tell us what kind of exercise is the best for us if we are truly, truly aligned. I tried everything. I went to the gym, I had a personal trainer, I did running, I did Pilates, I did yoga. And finally, after doing all of it, I decided that yoga is something that I'm willing to wake up every single morning at 5 o'clock. And it feels aligned. And every time I'm learning a new posture or I'm going deeper into a posture, there's stress, right? But it's a good stress. My muscles and ligaments are feeling that stretch that they haven't felt before. And I can feel all my inner organs are also getting the massage and exercise. That stress is good for me. So I'm going to do that. I'm not going to overdo it because that will become bad stress. So there is good stress and bad stress. And we want to have an optimum level of good stress, and we want to eliminate the bad stress. completely from our life. We don't need it. We don't need it. We don't need to tell ourselves excuses that, oh, but if I keep doing this, I will get promoted, and then keep doing, keep doing, keep doing, keep doing until you get tired, exhausted, and land in a hospital someday. I am just being very direct, very real here because I am seeing such cases happening every single day. Young professionals are getting myocardial infarction, they are getting heart attacks, they are getting hypertension. So it's real. And like I said, it's our life, right? The thing is that we cannot control when death will come. It might come, right after I finish this training. It might come tomorrow, it might come 20 years later. It can come whenever. The thing is, the only thing I can control is what I am doing now to take care of myself. And a lot of career coaches, leadership coaches, they just focus on how to increase the productivity, how to make the company more profitable, and that's all good. But you also matter. Your life, your health, your well-being, you cannot separate that from the company outcomes. You have to have a holistic approach toward your career, which is why our clients, they have a completely different outlook around how much to give, when to step back, because it's important that kills that compulsive bad stress cycle. So let's understand how the modern day compulsive bad stress cycle happens. And I call it compulsive because it has become, an auto mode, right? This today's world is all about, automation and automatic, right? Automatic payments make it easier, automatic reminders, right? We want everything automatic, right? With one, we want to push one button and we want 10 things done. And the same is happening with our mind, our body as well. Compulsive cycles, we are getting embroiled in these compulsive cycles of bad stress. So let's understand how that cycle starts and how do we keep going in that cycle and ultimately become extremely stressed, and that leads to sicknesses. Now, on top of it, of course, with the push of buttons, right, we can order food now because now we don't want to go in the kitchen and cook for ourselves. We don't want to go in the stores and shop for ourselves. So everything is automatic. And we are becoming almost like a robot now. And we need to step back and really embrace our humanness, our fragility, our vulnerabilities. We feel that because we are making so much progress technically, we are good, we are becoming better. But see what happened, right? It's like a house of cards, right? Everything came to a halt when the issue happened with the Microsoft systems going down everywhere in the world. One thing went wrong, and the whole world came to a stop. And we think that's progress. Not the world coming down to a stop progress, but like we have technology, right? The globe is shrinking, it's so easy to connect with everyone. And yes, I get it, it's fun, it's easy, I get all of that, but then we also need to know that we are only human beings. We are not above nature. And once we accept that, we become more humble and we take care of ourselves. So I'm just throwing truth bombs here, and it might trigger some of you, but it doesn't matter. The truth is truth. And the sooner we accept the truth, the quicker we will become more centered and start taking care of ourselves. So we can appreciate, all the technology that's, improving, communication and, making our life convenient. We can call that as convenient, or however you see it, right? If you think of it as progress, let's appreciate that progress. At the same time, also realize that we are not technology. We are human beings. We belong, we are a part of this planet, we are a part of nature, and we are not bigger than nature. So let's come back to the modern day compulsive bad stress cycle. So it starts with a trigger. And I have some detailed notes in front of me, and I'm going to refer to that because I don't want to forget anything as I go through this cycle. So it always starts with a trigger, and the triggers could be, an incident that happened in your life. It could be a certain situation that you got into, or it could be a thought. And all of these could be real or imaginary. And that's the most interesting part for me. Real and imaginary can have the same impact on our mind and body. That's the most fascinating thing for me. So, an incident. So, for example, recently, we had to put our dog down. That was last week. And, you know, the week before. And then this past week, I got sick. And I'll tell you how all that fits into this. We'll take that example. But yeah, it could be an incident. It could be a situation that you got into. It could be an accident. It could be a situation at, like your car's not working. You could be in a meeting, somebody cuts you off mid-sentence, or it could just be a thought, right? You leave that meeting and now you're thinking about, oh, I should have spoken up, or why did John say that to me? Why did not I, retort back? Why did I not stand my ground? Right? It could be any of that. So there's that trigger, and that trigger leads to thoughts, lots of thoughts. There could be good thoughts, there could be bad thoughts, but as human beings, we are designed to focus more on the negative thoughts. And why is that? Because it's a protective mechanism, right? We have prefrontal cortex, and we also have the emotional brain, or the lower brain, or the reptilian brain, so to speak, right? Reptilian brain is about reactive, right? Like a snake, if somebody steps on its tail, it'll just turn around and try to bite you, right? It does not have the prefrontal cortex to think about, maybe they just stepped on my tail by mistake, so I'm gonna let it go this time, right? They don't have the prefrontal cortex to filter and analyze the situation, and they just react, right? And we have that. However, with our conditioning, right, from how our childhood experiences were, sometimes a prefrontal cortex is not able to filter the actual experience, and it just is very emotional. So if somebody cuts you off mid-sentence in a meeting as an adult, the emotional brain sends the signal about somebody cutting you off mid-sentence when you were little, and that you were shut down. And that memory comes back, and suddenly you go into that fright and freeze mode, and you just react. So your thoughts are now hijacking the prefrontal cortex, and the emotional brain has taken over. So now you're thinking negatively. Oh, this person is trying to shut me down, and you feel the exact same experiences that you might have felt when you were little. So now that one trigger becomes very big in your mind. It's like a big wave in the ocean that's just like overpowering everything about you. So now you have those negative thoughts, right? One incident, it is only an incident. It is just one thought, but it is taking over your whole brain. So then what happens? So the thoughts are there, negative thoughts are there, and then you start worrying about it. One negative thought attracts another negative thought. So now that incident does not stay a single incident because it triggers more negative memories. It will remind you about another time when you were cut off mid sentence. It will remind you of another time when you were not able to speak up. Then it goes down to the doom level. And doom level is basically, why me? This always happens to me. So when it comes down to doom, that is the saddest part. That is the saddest part because now, we are not only overthinking, overanalyzing, and worrying more, but now we are blaming ourselves. We are blaming our existence. We are complaining, why does it always happen to me? Why me? I'm not good enough. I work so much and nobody cares. And then we go to that place of doom. And that feeling of doom does not feel good. That does not feel good at all. So now, what do we do? Then we need something to feel better. So we look for how we can increase the dopamine showers, right? We are not happy with dopamine drip, right? That we can get with daily, boring, healthy actions, right? We need dopamine showers. Like immediately we want to get out of the doom. So what do? Then we procrastinate. How do we procrastinate? Well, in various ways. It could be a simple thing like, let me rearrange the furniture, right? I want a change in my office and I will feel good about it, right? That could be one simple thing. Another thing would be, let me go in the fridge and see what's in there, right? And then we look for foods and then we eat. And let me tell you, don't fool yourself and to say that, oh, I have only healthy food in my house. But if you're eating when you're not hungry, that's unhealthy. But we want the dopamine shower. We can't stay in that doom for too long. So we want to make ourselves feel better. So we eat, right? And now, with technology, we have, of course, instant gratification. It's basically instant procrastination, actually, right? So Instagram Reels, right? Netflix, Prime, like YouTube, like everything is so accessible. So it's like we start watching those videos because that feeling of doom, it's not good. So we want something to cover that up, right? It's that icky feeling is not good. And then when we are watching those videos, then we want something else, right? Oh, let me grab the bag of chips, or oh, let me get those fruits. And then now you are on auto mode, basically, right? Automatic mode. It's like, oh yeah, I'm watching these reels and I'm eating, I'm watching these reels, I'm eating, I'm watching these reels and I'm eating. And then time is gone, right? And of course there are other distractions also, right? You might, get a book and start reading. You might, like go grab a drink, right? It could be anything, but we find something to get that dopamine shower, right? And then, temporarily it feels good. And then suddenly you look at the watch and it's 4 hours are gone. And now you scramble. Oh my God, there is so much work I still have to do. So then what do? Work longer for lost time, right? So it's 6 o'clock in the evening and you haven't accomplished much. And you're like, oh, let me work. And then you will miss dinner, right? Or eat something unhealthy for dinner. And then you will work until late. So now your sleep cycle is messed up. So you either don't sleep or sleep less, or it's a disturbed sleep. And then you wake up in the morning tired, exhausted, unmotivated. And then that goes back to more negative thoughts. And then this cycle goes on and on and on and on auto mode. That leads to increased bad stress, and it leads to sickness. So, there's a good news and there's a bad news, right? I'll tell you the good news. The good news is that to get here, we have to work very hard, right? Like we have to go through all of this to feel that bad stress and ultimately get sick. It's a lot of work, right? So that's the good news. The bad news is when we have to get out of that cycle, we have to get to some daily boring things which stops us from achieving what we want. Right? Now you can, switch that and call it good or bad. But the thing is that we don't like easy things. We don't like simple things. We don't like to do them consistently. That's the bad news, right? Because we are so used to these dopamine showers that we don't enjoy the dopamine drips. But the great news is that we can get out of this cycle. Yes, our mind will have to be trained to get into that consistent, boring daily tasks. But that is what is going to give us relief, freedom from this really, really unhealthy, compulsive, bad stress cycle. So far with me? All right. So now, thank you, Mrinalini, for explaining all of this and triggering us in many ways. But how do we get out of this? So, the health cycle is really simple. So once you have decided, right, what kind of exercise energizes you, right? Once you have decided, so basically what we need to do is figure out what are the 4 or 5 critical things that make you succeed in life and at work. You need only 4 or 5 things and you do them every single day. So for example, oh, one thing I forgot to do was to explain you the stress cycle and how, it impacted, I got a cold a week after my dog passed away, right? So let me actually just do that and then we'll talk about how to combat that. So the incident in my life was that we had to put our dog down. Very sad. She was with us for 16 years and it was very heartbreaking to see her go, but it was time. Now that's an incident, right? There is sadness, of course, we want to feel our feelings, but here's how the mind works. And this is what we need to understand, right? Our mind does not keep that incident as a separate thing. Once we get into that negative thought, right? So there's a trigger that leads to thoughts, right? And thoughts are usually the negative thoughts. So in addition to the sadness, I started evaluating my relationship with my dog. And what did I start thinking about? Instead of focusing on, the lovely times we had, when we went on walks and, you know, how she sniffed, the grass and, how she played catch and everything, my mind went where? The negative things. Oh, I could have been a much better, uh, owner to her, right? I could have been a better companion to her. There were times when she was just scratching my leg because she wanted me to pet her, and I was just busy in a meeting, and I just pushed her away. And I said, oh my God, I'm such a bad person. Why do I do that? She was, so loving and gave me unconditional love, but look at me. I was so bad to her, right? So mind is illogical. It's not going to, I mean, it's not illogical, right? It's giving me information to learn. I could become a better person. And that's nice. But when you start worrying and go into that doom, right? Then I was like, oh, I'm never going to have another pet. And, this is bad. And I could never be a good, companion to my pets or whatnot, right? So I went into that negative cycle and doom. And then I, of course, procrastinated, and I had so many things that I could do for my business, but, I procrastinated. And some of you might say that, oh, this is just part of grieving. But again, let's not fool ourselves. Let's not fool ourselves, right? Grieving is like really feeling sad and being with it. This is different. We need to separate that, right? Grieving is grieving, feeling the sadness. But what we do is we want to also feel good. So instead of allowing myself the time to grieve, what I did was I wanted the dopamine shower. So I did exactly what I told you, right? Instagram, eating, and I felt like I am behind at work, and then I had a few days where I did not sleep very well, and ultimately I got a cold because my immunity went down because of stress. Because guess what? I mean, viruses are there all the time, but we are not sick every single day. So something happens to our immunity when we contract these viruses, right? Now, again, this is not a medical talk, right? But this is generally what happens. So I'm not giving you any medical advice here, even though I'm a doctor, but this training is not about any medical advice. But these are my observations that I have seen. So, so I got sick, right? And again, in the sickness, if you are still in that doom loop, even in sickness, you're beating yourself up. Oh, I always do that, right? And this is like, I'm so mad at myself that I got sick. And that's not a healthy thought process. So it's doom, stress, sickness. And if we don't get out of this cycle, we get better, right, from that particular sickness. And then another trigger happens. And then we go through that same loop. And what happens is over time, you might actually notice that previously you were not as sick, as you were not frequently sick, but now the frequency is increased. Why? Because you are embroiled in these cycles, and it's happening over and over and over and over. So your immunity is going down and down, and you are feeling sick more frequently than before. So the key is to get out of it, right? And how do you do it? So, like I said, you figure out to be successful in your career, right? In your career, in the goals that you're aligned with, right? Like I mentioned at the very early part of this training. Figure out 4 to 5 things that you need to do on a consistent basis to be successful. For your personal life, what are 4 to 5 things that you need to do on a consistent basis, right? For personal life, some kind of exercise, some kind of centering, whether it's meditation, whether it's breathing exercises, some kind of centering, right? Eating healthy, spending time with family, doing what you love. More than enough, more than enough, right? Now you will say, oh, but what about the chores and everything? Delegate, delegate, right? If you are working harder, if you're making money, get the help, so they can do the chores. You do what you love. So my preference is, instead of, to me, right, and this is totally me, for me, buying an expensive car is not success. For me, to be able to hire a chauffeur to drive a car, even if they are driving my Toyota or my Subaru, I have a Subaru, I am good. I am good. If I have a housemaid coming in to do the dishes, do meal prep, I am good. I am successful. So you need to commit to your success definition. And this is the most important thing. Our definition of success is defined by others. So you need to, that's why the centering exercises are so important. You need to have some centering, meditation, sitting with yourself quietly, going for walks in nature is very important to help you figure out what it is that you truly want. So that's personal life. What do you need in professional life? You need some juicy projects. If you want juicy projects, do you know how to speak up and negotiate and ask for those juicy projects? Can you say no to things that you don't want to do? Do it in a strategic manner, of course, right? Help the leader see that that's not the best use of your talent. Are you doing the work to show yourself as a leader, to position yourself as a leader? Are you being visible? Those are the 4 or 5 things you need to succeed in your career. You don't need to go after degrees and degrees and certifications and certifications. Yes, at the beginning of your career, you do need that. But later on, it's not just your technical skills, but it's also your soft skills that's going to help you get there. So the health cycle or the good stress cycle, like I said, we need that. It's basically, oh, this already dried up. I should have closed the cap. So it's basically the 4 to 5 daily activities. Sleep well. And oops, you can't see it. Repeat 4 to 5 daily activities, personal life, professional life, get it done, sleep well, and rinse and repeat. But this is boring. And yet, this is the answer to living a simple and fulfilling life. That's it. That's it. So I would really love to know your thoughts on this. So post your comments and I will come back and reply to those comments.